And welcome back to another episode of Starfleet Command, where I'm Captain Derek of the new heavy cruiser GCS Hurl, as we continue our campaign against the Klingon Star Empire, and we are currently traveling around the Federation, looking through mostly this neutral zone to see if we can't find a planet to steal, use it as a main base of operations against the enemy. So with that out of the way, let us set out into space and keep trying to hunt down planets. Unfortunately, we are going to come across things like surprise reverses, which mandatorily force us to stop. And also, the surprise reverse is not exactly something we're incredibly great at, unfortunately. The ship is pretty interesting, but like most plasma-armed races, it suffers a little bit in the department of how much firepower can I actually bring to the table in a very short period of time. And while, yeah, individual bursts of firepower are pretty interesting, if you actually look at the damage over time, you start coming out with some not amazing numbers, purely because the way that the weapon actually works. So, in the surprise reversed, we have, I believe, no friends, and we are squaring off against a frigate, a freighter, and a light cruiser. Is this a freighter like the way that the Lyrans call things freighters? Kind of looks that way, but we're going to focus on the actual light cruiser proper first and get ourselves up to speed as fast as possible, still accelerating, so we didn't actually lose any time on that. We are still maintaining the fastest speed that we can actually go, while massively charging these plasma S torpedoes into enveloping mode. Now, last time we tried to use enveloping mode, and it didn't work out quite as brilliantly as we sort of had been hoping. The Klingon ship was able to basically shrug off most of it. Well, this time, they're not going to have any defenses, so basically we've brought four S-type plasma torpedoes to the fight, and they're going to have to deal with that, which is going to be lovely. Other thing about enveloping plasma torpedoes, like overloaded weapons, the range takes a bit of a dive, so we're not going to be able to shoot quite as far as we normally would. We're going to get nice and close to this guy, see if we can't just stack up a whole ton of damage. So let's do a pseudo, and then the real ones. And the reason why I did that, I didn't want to actually shoot all of them, but the reason why I did that is I wanted to soak up any sort of defensive fire they may have had, and there we go. And that's the big burst damage that we have the capability of dealing. Okay, let's go check out what you were. You are also fairly decently well equipped. You're a gunboat, you're a snipe, and you're a Jayhawk. Wait, that's a frigate. That is a Romulan frigate with 60 damage in plasma torpedoes. Guess how much damage in plasma torpedoes we have when we don't use enveloping mode? That's right, 60 damage. So yeah, the Romulans kind of overcompensate when it comes to plasma. So let's reinforce the forward shield so we can survive the amount of damage we're about to take when he explodes. 53 damage is not terrible at all, but really there's not much I can do until, well, we kill him, because the ship is slow and not exactly fast at the helm. We'll get ourselves just a little bit close to maybe see if we can't increase the amount of damage we'll deal a little bit more. Okay, now we need to accelerate and start getting some distance in, because plasma torpedoes are not exactly the weapon system that you want to be standing right next to when it pops off. Okay, we managed to kill him without having to worry about that. You are next on my chopping block, so you're just going to have to take both of these plasma torpedoes of love and rejoicing. Lovely, you're dead. The snipe or you? You actually have more firepower than that snipe does, which I suppose I shouldn't be super surprised about, but you are fairly small. Not yet dead, but we're working on it. Also, he has plasma torpedoes ready to go, so if he, finishes his whole being shut down, powering up the ship, you don't want to be in front of that. And on to the sniper who has a single G-type plasma torpedo. I'm going to bet he turns on before I can actually kill him. But let's see if we can get these plasma torpedoes into him before he activates. Oh good, we had just enough time to finish everybody off. Lovely. So victory is of course ours. A pretty decent amount of prestige, 300 for the reward of doing that. And we can keep on pursuing without having taken any additional damage. We are currently on the hunt for planets. So let us continue our little journey. Here, little planet, we are looking for you. There it is! Aha! We have found a planet. It is an Empire Defense of 40. Let's see if we can't successfully do a planetary assault without taking too much damage. With any luck, we will be supported by friendly forces in the area. If we don't have enough luck, then we're going to have to make a very long trip back home. But hey, we've managed to bring USS Grant and USS Thresher. The Thresher appears to be... Actually, I'm not really sure what the heck the Thresher is. He is a CVD. Oh, they're a CVD and a CVDA. So we've got a drone carrier? So CV tells me that it's a carrier, and the D is generally for drones, but he's only got 2 missile launchers, which is a little bit odd. This guy, on the other hand, is a much larger one. You can actually see he has a triple nacelle design and a fairly impressive vessel, if I do say so myself, and I have. So he will be quite the opponent, actually. There's a version of this that has basically inverted Phaser G and Phaser 1 hardpoints, I believe. But yeah, so we've brought a couple of carriers, which is an excellent thing to bring along. The Klingons in this era, well, they haven't quite gotten the memo of putting massive amounts of defenses on everything, just most things. So actually, in order to support that, we should envelop. Because if we weaken all of their shields, then the fighters will make passes and just annihilate through their shields at every single turn. So we're going to activate our enveloping plasma torpedoes to play a more defensive, supportive role on this one. Also going to pick up the speed a little bit so we can get underway. We do want to actually get a little bit of aggressive maneuverability out of us. Although, you know, we are, of course... Are you Klingons or Romulans? Okay, you are Klingons. The Klingons are, of course, known for their maximum maneuverability, not the Gorn. So the fact that we're about to try and out-skirmish Klingons is going to be an interesting endeavor. Pick up the pace a little bit more. We want to get some speed. We, of course, want to be able to basically take control of the engagement. The enveloping plasma torpedoes is going to force us to get in nice and close to the enemy, which is going to suck a little bit. But hopefully we can place ourselves into a superior position. Are you a D5? You'll look at... yeah, you're a D5U. Not sure what the U version is. Is it a carrier? Oh, okay. So the U for Klingons is basically the V. Although, you know, he's also packing a fairly decent amount of fighters. I'm kind of thinking that maybe I should have been equipping a little bit of a different armament. Maybe I should be going to shotgun mode on my defensive on my plasma torpedoes, set them to defensive. But then again, got incoming long-range fire. I'm not going to mess up his shot, but now I will. And the reason... Ooh, and with any luck, things will work out. Good. So he's stopped, which is grand. I'm just going to soar right on by him and let them engage. Oh, this may actually not work out quite as well as I've been hoping. Hard energy turn. Let's go for a quick spin, because we're going to need it. 3, 2, 1, and make this sucker turn on a dime. All right, we need to wait for the proper time, so we're going to slow down, get a little bit more forward shield reinforcement. 3, come on, just a little bit more, speed up. I don't have any time. I gotta hope. 3, 2, 1, and hook back. Ooh, I screwed it up. Only one of them hooked back. Unfortunate for us. Okay, so that pretty much reduced a lot of the firepower that we had, but he's got no more shields. So at this point, well, the fighters should be able to do that to him. On to the U. Actually, no, that actually would be accurate. On to the U, because he is a D5U. And we're gonna see... Stop doing it! I don't like it. It's not fun. It's a technique that is just gosh darn irritating, but undeniably effective. I gotta give them credit for that. They're damaging my ship, and I really can't afford to have this ship damaged, because we are way far away from the nearest repair and rearm. The Jinx Slayer. I suppose that makes a certain amount of sense, considering how the Klingons think, at least in this world. They're much more superstitious. Hi! I've got open shields on you, because I've managed to damage you. And I'm anticipating him to dropping a mine sometime soon, so I'm going to slow down a little bit, because we are quite close to each other. I don't need to go super fast. I can just sort of block most of his incoming damage, and I think I actually did manage to accept all of that without too much trouble. As long as you're going to stay within a distance of 4, I am perfectly happy to let you just run donuts. Oh, you've got a lot of missiles incoming. You've also got a couple of fighters incoming, which I believe my automatic phasers are going to kill. Lovely. A little bit more firepower, please. Ooh, don't have anything yet ready. A little bit more damage. He's now open and vulnerable. How much for a high energy turn? 74% chance. Yeah, I don't think so. And the supporting fire from our escorts, or I suppose we would be the escort in this case, because carriers are, in my view, a central feature of a fleet, not the escorts of it. Yes, and as you can see, a little bit of custom work on this, on the Federation heavy cruiser version of the carrier. It's got additional bay doors, and of course the Dreadnought version is very similar to the other type that we saw that had a through deck. The early versions of the Federation heavy cruisers, which I suppose don't have them for reasons. Maybe to differentiate them a bit, although the nacelles do a fairly good job of that. I'll have to look into that more. Alright, he's mostly dead at this point. We can probably just focus on the planet. Speaking of the planet, how are you doing? You're a PL2, which is great, so it'll just increase the speed time. Amazingly, the fighter survived and, you know, won. suppose I shouldn't be that surprised, but it was quite nice to see that the fighters actually managed to get all of the work required of them done. Because this is an undefended target, we are, of course, going to go to enveloping plasma torpedoes, just to a little bit of additional firepower that we got there. We'll pick up the pace and go quite quick towards the actual target itself. That way we can actually get this done relatively soon, because we are going to have to bombard it. Luckily, the planet itself will not be able to defend itself as we bombard it, which makes us a little bit safer on this one. Long-range photon torpedoes, so it looks like the Federation will actually be able to support this operation as well, which is always helpful. And we'll start to slow down because I don't want to hit any of these rings because they will blow me up. Am I getting really close to rings? I'm not. Okay, it's an optical illusion that is making me think that I'm getting really close to rings. I hope. If I suddenly explode, we know that the game is lying to us. And that would be unpleasant on many, many levels. Start to slow down because we don't want to get too close to the planet. It does, of course, have 8 phaser 3s, which it can shoot at us if we get close enough. We would prefer that not to happen. Distance of 5 will do me. Alright, all of them select. Engage the planet with as much firepower as we've got. Okay, starting to knock out systems. How much for a capture? 15. We're good on that one. So we're just going to keep the pace. Rapid firing on the phasers to knock out people over time. Let the long-range fire support from our Federation allies do a little bit of work. A shame their fighters can't get in to just really do some harsh work on the enemy. That would be super helpful. Unfortunately, not going to be a thing. Plasma torpedoes are almost ready for another salvo, which will help out quite a bit, as we'll dish out another 120 damage. And the phaser follow-up down to 7. Just a couple more, and we'll actually have the planet itself. Now, also the one cool thing about this ship, maybe not cool, but useful thing is it's efficient in the way that sending all Marines operates on this one. Because we have 3 transporters, it will send over the exact number of Marines that we need to capture the planet once we get it down to 2. Because you can't get it any lower than 2 for reasons that I have not yet deduced. Alright, we've got 1 more left on there, and I've got to wait for my phasers or my plasma torpedoes to fully charge on this one. I think the plasma torpedoes will be ready first. Yep, send it to the Marines. So our Marines will finish taking the entirety of the planet, which will move forward for us quite nicely. We'll have everything taken care of. We are going to have to attack this planet quite a few more times, though, before we actually get the Empire defense down to a level where we'll have it captured. Once we have it, outpost in the middle of enemy territory. Close enough to the Klingons that, well, we'll be close enough to start sieging a couple of the planets. It'll also give us access to the market again, which will allow us to start looking at better ships, because this ship is, well, it ain't exactly what I'd want to take into a war. I'd want something a little bit more powerful. R-type plasma torpedoes, multiple types of plasma torpedoes would help too. There we go, planet taken. So successful operation has been executed. Closing session, please wait. So that'll bring the Empire defense down to about 35-ish if it maintains the normal level. If not, well, then that'll suck a little bit. 495 prestige is, of course, our reward. Empire defense is indeed down to 35. Okay, we'll pop over here. And then pop right back on here. Hello. Planetary assaults, I think, are better for us just a little bit. We're up to 3,133, which means we can afford a fairly decent ship if we die and get sent back. The reason why I think that planetary assaults are just a little bit better for us is... Actually, I don't really know. PLPH-0, oh god. Are you super death planet? I hope not. We did bring USS Lee, which is a Federation dreadnought. Are you an early dreadnought? No, you're a DN plus R. So it is a standard style dreadnought, an upgrade from the DNEs. Which makes an actual proper full-on dreadnought for once. It does have the plus refit and the R refit for additional shielding and defenses. There is a phaser mount somewhere in here that was added to give it a little bit more protection. It is a D7C we're currently squaring off against. I want to see the planet. It's not a probe. Let's find out exactly. Oh, that's what I was afraid of. So we got a D7R CR and a D7CR. We'll track this one as it passes by. Let's see what sort of danger we're having to fight. Hopefully not too much. And according to the probe, we are dealing with, yeah, that's a pretty standard D7, honestly. So, it's not the worst thing in the world, all things considered. But I think I'm going to maintain standard plasma torpedoes on this one. Reinforce the forward shield. We should also probably reinforce the aft shield. Okay, you're not as devastating as a planet as I thought you were. There is a planet in this game that has just 8 million weapon systems all over it that's even more deadly than even the standard PLPH. So I think we can potentially take this planet. It's going to be an interesting thing to attempt. Because I think if we maintain a high speed and we don't slow down ever, we might be able to nail a hole through these heavy cruisers. That's a maybe, though. So I don't want to get closer to him than I absolutely have to. I am protecting my front and my back. I've only got 4.5 points of power into each of, or 3.5 points of power into each of those, because I can't control how much the defense is split, which is kind of sad. I would have liked that ability. And I do have reasonable faith that a Federation Dreadnought can take on a Klingon heavy cruiser. Okay, a bit of incoming fire bouncing off a forward shield. We're perfectly happy to accept that. Oh, he's supporting me. Managed to nail him with 2 of his photon torpedoes, which will weaken him a little bit. Alright, we're in range. Fire pseudos. And turret. And the goal will be to get around behind him, hit that glass shield from behind, although that one shield is pretty weak. And he responded in the way that we had hoped. Lovely. So our maneuver takes us out. And then in. This is a maneuver that we used to use back during the Romulan campaign. We would do this with a King Condor Dreadnought. The out and then in technique would always place us into a wonderful position to engage when the enemy actually, finished their Wild Weasel usage. So plasma torpedoes are ready. I want to fire them from outside the range. Start to slow down a little bit, give us a little bit more defenses. Ooh, had our forward shield on target at the perfect time. Don't want to get too close. That's the speed. High. So wait for it. Punch through, and the phasers, and push on through. And plasma torpedoes offline for just a moment. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to be on our way out before the enemy really starts to mess with us. Okay, aft shield actually... You son of a... Who did that? Okay, that was him. So my entire intention with that tactic had been to protect the aft screen. So that was a little irritating. We've got this one mostly dead. I mean, not mostly dead. We've managed to hurt him pretty badly, but it's going to take another round of plasma torpedoes to really wipe him out. The Lee is not being quite as useful as I'd like him to be. And we would like to annihilate the Klingon vessel as soon as possible. Because once we kill him, we can worry ourselves with only 1 point of damage that's sort of circling around us. I'd like to push out a little bit wider so I can hit that aft shield, but I think he's thinking the exact same thing. And my forward port shield is not doing well. Okay, no. I did not plan that. Okay, that's interesting. All stop. Okay, we managed to bounce it off a different shield, which managed to deal most of its damage to him. He's mostly dead at this point. I would send Marines, but honestly, I don't want to... I want to waste it. Because I only have so many Marines. We got incoming missiles? Thank you. Target him. I need phasers. I need just a couple of phaser shots. Thank you, or that could help. Alright, so more power. Let's get underway. Let's also get this aft shield fully reinforced. So just this one, if you don't mind. It's all I need protected at the moment. Because I've also got the Lee here for me, who can take quite a bit of damage, as he hasn't taken any damage yet. So, he is in prime position to support. Is the shield reinforcement going to switch anytime today? It seems to be awfully slow. Okay, I don't have a pseudoplasma torpedo left anymore, but if I stagger these shots, he shouldn't actually respond in a way that'll matter. 1 plasma torpedo. No, he is actually going to respond to that. That sucks on a few levels, actually. Oh, I wanted this to work. It's not going to work. Full power, pull away, pull away, pull away. Okay, he now has his easy free missiles that he can launch. And then I'm just going to come full turn on this one. We'll lob another plasma torpedo over the shoulder. There we go. And get quite a bit of power in our aft shields to protect us as we move away. Yeah, you're not avoiding that, as forward screens are completely down. We are outrunning this missile without any trouble at all. More photon torpedo fire coming from the Lee, able to support us quite nicely. And we're going to go wide to sort of protect our shields as best as we can. We have to very much pay attention to how much damage we take over time, because we can't afford to go home. Well, we could afford to do it, but we'd prefer not to go home for quite some time. We're going to do this old school, way back in Season 1 when we had that War Destroyer that we kept out for years, actually, of in-game time. Okay, picked off that missile. Didn't really need to, but every little bit helps, I suppose. But that does sacrifice a lot of our power that we had in the aft shield, because the phaser capacitor is an absolute power hog. Really, you should have no trouble killing from here. You are a dreadnought. So it looks like the Defiler is in a bit of a rough shape. Probably don't want to take too much damage on my forward shield either. So really, let's switch that shield to forward only. Oh, there we go. And we'll come in and basically try and gut him with our last couple of shots, because shouldn't take that much firepower in order to finish him off. He doesn't have a whole heck of a lot left going for him. A little bit of fire from ultra long range that we did bounce off our forward shields. That was a little bit helpful. He's got no more missile launchers. He still has a ship. Port side plasma torpedo. Still? I don't quite know how that ship's alive. Full power, let's get out of here. Because I anticipate the Lee will be able to shoot at him and kill him, and I'd rather not be within explosion range. Alright, we should be far enough away. Beautiful. Okay, on to the planet itself. Now, the planet is going to be a little bit more difficult. So, this planet does actually have a defensive shield. It's also the perfect size of our targeting sphere at that range. So, that was pretty cool. The target does have a shield, which means enveloping plasma torpedoes are actually still a good idea. And the reason for that is going to be that enveloping plasma torpedoes will hit the shields that are not facing me, which is helpful. It's going to take a little while to knock him down, but that'll allow us to basically burn down all his shields all the time. And then once he's only protecting one shield, then what we're actually doing is a pretty significant amount of damage, despite the fact he will have defenses in front of me. Now, we are a bit lucky. He's got disruptors rather than anything else, so he is rather vulnerable to incoming fire, which will be nice. We do not have a metric ton of energy, though. That will be a little bit of a weakness of ours. But we do, of course, have him just blasting away with photon torpedoes and being fairly accurate at it. With any luck, he'll draw fire. That's kind of my hope at this point. Because if he draws enough fire, we should be okay. I'd like to get in nice and close. Really, I may not be able to get any closer than this. Let's see how much damage we can do with this. I didn't manage to deal any damage yet, but we did manage to hurt him quite well. Probe. Oh wow, I think we got all of his shields down. So that works out. Now we just sit here and we continue the bombardment. We've only got 28 points of power into our forward shield, which seems like a lot, and then you consider how much energy we used to put in the forward shield when we were in a dreadnought. It's, well, kind of important, because the amount of damage that he can dish out is pretty monumentally huge. So we're not in a position where we can just start following up with a whole bunch of light phaser fire. We need to hit him from long range, burn down his armor using our enveloping plasma torpedoes, and then after we've broken everything on the planet, then we can move in to do something about it. This is the long-term survival strategy of taking planets down. Although it helps that the Lee is out there, although I hope that the Lee manages to avoid losing his shields so that he doesn't die, because I'm really kind of hoping that the Lee is also just a Federation dreadnought that's in the area, and if that's the case, he'll get dragged into our fights a lot, which would be helpful to have a dreadnought just along for the ride. Continue to burn down his defenses. He's lost his shuttle bay, not that he can actually use it. He's also lost a tractor beam, which would be helpful if we had missiles. I suppose if the Lee wanted to get involved using any more scatter packs that he might happen to have, that would be a little bit useful, but I doubt he's actually got scatter packs, if I'm completely honest. I'm thinking that he's mostly tapped at this point when it comes to consumables, probably just down to just his photon torpedoes, which, to be fair, photon torpedoes are excellent support weapons. Not really something that you want to start a siege with, but if you want to combine photon torpedoes, oh, I think we've got them. If you want to combine photon torpedoes with something like, say, plasma torpedoes, you can actually get a lot done. Alright, let's start getting on in there, because we have just a couple more salvos before we burn him down, and we've managed to knock out pretty much all of his defenses. He may have a single phaser 4 up, and we can actually take that pretty well with our current shield levels. But a nice slow approach, using plasma torpedoes along the way to control the entirety of the planet, as they are actually wrapping around the entire planet, which is a rather stunning visual to stop and think about. Alright, let's come to a stop. Make sure that he can't actually defend himself. Now we get involved with the phasers as well. We've got one more salvo, we hope, or, you know, a little bit of supporting fire from the Lee, in order to act. There we go, that was what we need. Marines go. And hopefully we can stun anything offline in that interim. So with any luck, we've captured the planet. Just continue to blast. I want to make sure that I don't actually take any damage on this one, because he is actually still bringing his shields back online, which is rather surprising to me, considering he doesn't have any more shields. So, down to 0, we are now just finishing securing the edges of what appear to be the moon, or perhaps Mercury, except way, way far away. Come on, finish it off. Finish the entire planet for us. Let's bring it down to an Empire defense of 30, which will be a little bit helpful. We need to get it down to 0 and captured for the Gorn. If it captures for the Federation or the Mirak, that would be utterly terrible, as we can't use their star docks for reasons that I don't quite know. You'd think that allies would be able to, like, repair off of each other, but that's not how this works. 495 prestige is, of course, our reward, and yeah, Empire Defense is down to 30, so we are making progress. But that's going to do it for today's episode. I've been Mirak. If you like what you've been seeing, hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see a notification every time I post one of these videos. Press that little bell icon, leave a comment, and I will see you all in the next episode.